The tea grew cold as they talked. Hours passed, and no one noticed. The guards stood by the walls, watching in silence. Dahan and Yuna sat at the far end of the table, listening but not speaking. This was Tae's moment, and they knew better than to interrupt. Tae explained everything. He told Vela about the human navigation systems, how they used old star maps that did not show the Orthy border changes from the last century. He showed her the technical reports that proved the errors were accidental. He described the faces of the human captains who had unknowingly crossed into Orathi space, how frightened they had been when Orthy warships surrounded them. Vela listened. She asked questions. Sharp questions. Difficult questions. But she listened. Your captains were afraid, she asked at one point. They feared our ships? Yes, Tae admitted. We knew your military was powerful. We knew that entering your space was a serious offense. The captains thought they were going to die. Vela considered this. But they did not fight. They did not try to escape. No, they shut down their engines and waited. They hoped that the Orathi would see they meant no harm. We thought it was a trap, Vela said. We thought they were waiting for more human ships to arrive. That is why we did not fire on them. Tae nodded slowly. And we thought your ships were preparing to destroy them. Both sides were afraid, and neither side understood the other. Vela was quiet for a long moment. Then she made a sound that Tae did not recognize. It was almost like laughter, but sharper. We almost started a war because of fear, she said. Because neither side knew what the other was thinking. Yes, Tae said. That is often how wars begin. Vela looked at him with new eyes. This human was strange. He was young and soft and had none of the strength that the Orathi valued. But there was something in him that she was beginning to understand. A different kind of strength. The strength to remain calm when others would panic. The strength to seek understanding when others would fight. Tell me about your world, she said suddenly. Tae blinked, surprised by the request. My world? Earth. Tell me about it. I want to understand how your people became this. Tae thought about how to answer. Earth was complicated. Human history was complicated. But he wanted Vela to understand, so he tried to explain. Earth is a small planet, he began. Blue and green. It has oceans and mountains and forests. It has billions of people. Billions? Vela's eyes widened. The Orathi had only 3 billion people across their entire empire. To have billions on a single planet was almost impossible to imagine. Yes, and for most of our history, we fought each other. We had wars over land, wars over resources, wars over beliefs. We killed each other by the millions. Vela nodded. This she understood. This was how the universe worked. But then something changed. Tae continued. We invented weapons so powerful that they could destroy our entire planet. We realized that if we kept fighting, we would all die. So we had to find another way. What way? Vela asked. We learned to talk. We learned to compromise. We learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to forgive. Vela frowned. Forgiveness is weakness. It tells your enemies that you will not punish them, that they can hurt you without consequences. Tae shook his head gently. That is one way to see it. But there's another way. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean allowing someone to hurt you again. It means choosing not to let anger control you. It means breaking the cycle of violence. He leaned forward slightly. Ambassador, if I shouted at you now, what would you do? I would shout back, Vela said immediately. And then I would shout louder. And you would shout louder still. And eventually, we would be fighting. The anger would grow and grow until one of us was destroyed. Tae paused. But if I do not shout back, the cycle breaks. The anger has nowhere to go. It fades. Vela was silent. She had never thought about it this way before. On Earth, Tay said, we have a story about a man who lived thousands of years ago. When his enemies struck him, he did not strike back. When they cursed him, he blessed them. Many people thought he was weak, but his ideas spread across the entire world. They changed everything. What man changed your world by being kind? Vela sounded doubtful. One man started a movement. Others joined him. Kindness spreads, ambassador, just like anger. But kindness builds things. Anger only tears them down. Vela stood up suddenly. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Her reflection stared back at her, violet scales gleaming in the glass. The Arthi were not always warriors, she said quietly. Tay did not respond. He sensed that she needed to speak, and that his job now was to listen. Long ago, we were explorers, scientists, artists. We built beautiful things. We sang songs that could make you weep. Vela's voice was soft, almost sad. But then we met other species. Species who wanted what we had. They attacked us, killed us, took our worlds. She turned to face Tay. So we became warriors. We became strong. We swore that no one would ever hurt us again. For 10,000 years, we have fought to survive. I understand, Tay said gently. Do you? Vela's voice was sharp. Do you understand what it is like to watch your people die? To see your cities burn? To know that if you show any weakness, you will be destroyed? No, Tay admitted. I do not know that pain. But I understand fear. Every species knows fear. It is what we do with that fear that matters. Vela laughed bitterly. And what would you have us do, human? Stop fighting? Let our enemies destroy us? No, I would never ask you to be weak. Strength is important. But there are different kinds of strength. Tay stood and walked toward her. The Arathi have survived for 10,000 years. You have built an empire. You have defeated every enemy. You are incredibly strong. He stopped a few steps away from her. But what has all that strength cost you? You said your ancestors were artists and singers. When was the last time an Arathi created something beautiful? When was the last time your people knew peace? Vela did not answer. Her golden eyes were distant, looking at something Tay could not see. I am not asking you to stop being strong, Tay said. I am asking you to consider that there might be another way. A way where strength and kindness exist together. A way where you can protect your people without destroying everyone else. Vela turned back to the window. Outside, a ship moved slowly past the station, its lights blinking against the darkness. When I was young, she said quietly, my grandmother told me stories about the old times, about the songs, about the art. She said our people had lost something important, that we had become so focused on survival that we forgot how to live. She placed her hand against the glass. I thought she was being foolish, sentimental. The universe is cruel, and only the strong survive. Maybe the universe does not have to be cruel, Tay said. Maybe that is a choice we all make together. Vela was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, softer, more uncertain. Your people truly believe this? That kindness can change the universe? We try to believe it, Tay said. We do not always succeed. We still make mistakes. We still hurt each other sometimes. But we keep trying, because the alternative is to give up hope. And humans are not very good at giving up hope. Vela turned to face him. For the first time since they had met, there was no anger in her eyes. There was something else. Something that looked almost like wonder. You are a strange species, she said. You are weak and soft, and you have no armor or claws. Yet, you have survived. You have spread across the stars. And you have done it by being kind. She shook her head slowly. I do not understand you, but I think I would like to try. Tay felt his heart lift. This was more than he had dared to hope for. Will you give humans a chance, Ambassador? Will you let us show you who we really are? Vela looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. I will bring your words to my people, she said. I cannot promise they will listen. The Arthi have been warriors for a long time. Change will not be easy. Change is never easy, Tay agreed. But it is always possible. Vela smiled. It was small and uncertain, as if she had forgotten how. But it was real. More tea? She asked. Tay smiled back. I would like that very much. The silence in the chamber was heavy and thick. It pressed down on everyone like a weight. Vela stood at the end of the table, her chest rising and falling with each angry breath. Her golden eyes were fixed on Tay, waiting for his response. Her guards had their hands on their blades, ready to move at her command. Behind Tay, Doham whispered urgently. Be careful. If you say the wrong thing, this could become a war. Yuna said nothing, but her hands were shaking. Every species in the galaxy knew what happened when someone challenged an Arthi. You either fought back or you surrendered. There was no middle ground. The Arthi respected strength above all else. They believed that the universe belonged to those who were willing to take it by force. Tay understood all of this. He had read the reports. He had studied the history. He knew that Vela expected him to either cower in fear or rise to meet her challenge with anger of his own. But Tay was human, and humans were different. Slowly, calmly, Tay did something that no one in the room expected. He smiled. It was not a mocking smile or a nervous smile. It was warm and gentle, the kind of smile a person might give to a friend who was having a difficult day. Vela blinked. Her anger faltered for just a moment, replaced by confusion. What are you doing? She demanded. Why do you smile? Tay did not answer right away. Instead, he turned to the small table against the wall, where refreshments had been prepared for the meeting. There was a container of hot water and several cups. The station staff had provided tea, knowing that humans often drank it during important conversations. While everyone watched in stunned silence, Tay poured hot water into 2 cups. He added tea leaves and waited patiently for them to steep. The sweet smell of the tea filled the chamber, cutting through the tension like a soft breeze. What is this? Vela said. Her voice was still angry, but there was uncertainty in it now. What game are you playing, human? Tay picked up both cups and walked slowly toward Vela. Her guards moved to block him, but he stopped at a respectful distance. He held out one of the cups toward her. Please, he said softly. Will you share tea with me? Vela stared at him as if he had lost his mind. Her scales rippled with confusion. You offer me a drink, she said. I threaten you with war, and you offer me a drink? Yes, Tay said simply. Where I come from, when someone is upset, we offer them something warm to drink. It helps people relax. It gives them time to think. Vela did not take the cup. She looked at it as if it might be a trap. This is madness, she said. No species behaves this way. When you are threatened, you fight or you run. You do not offer tea. Tay nodded. I understand that this seems strange to you, but I am not your enemy, Ambassador. I do not want to fight you. I do not want to run from you. I want to talk with you. I want to understand you. He lowered his head slightly, a sign of respect in many human cultures. I am sorry that our ships entered your territory. It was wrong, and I understand why you are angry. Your anger is valid, but I believe we can find a solution that satisfies both of our peoples. Will you give me a chance to explain? Vela stood frozen. In her entire life, No one had ever responded to her anger this way. When she had led armies into battle, her enemies had fought or fled. When she had argued with other diplomats, they had shouted back or surrendered. No one had ever simply offered her kindness. She did not know how to respond. "This is a trick," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "You are trying to confuse me." "There is no trick," Tay said. "Only tea." Behind Vela, one of her guards spoke quietly. "Ambassador, perhaps we should hear what he has to say." Vela turned sharply. "You think I should trust this human?" The guard lowered his eyes. I have never seen anything like this before. It may be worth understanding." Vela looked back at Tay. He still stood there, holding the cup of tea, his expression calm and patient. There was no fear in his eyes. No anger, no deception. Just a simple offer of peace. Slowly, very slowly, Vela reached out and took the cup. The moment her fingers touched it, something changed in the room. The tension did not disappear, but it shifted somehow. It became less like the moment before a battle and more like the moment before a conversation. Vela looked at the tea. It was a golden brown color, and steam rose from its surface in gentle spirals. She had never seen anything like it before. "What is this drink?" she asked. "It is called tea," Tay said. "It comes from a plant that grows on Earth. We have been drinking it for thousands of years. We drink it when we are happy. We drink it when we are sad. We drink it when we need to think." He raised his own cup. "May I?" Vela nodded, still watching him with suspicion. Tay took a small sip of his tea. Then he closed his eyes for a moment, enjoying the taste and the warmth. Vela watched him carefully. Then, very cautiously, she raised her own cup to her lips. The tea touched her tongue, and her eyes widened slightly. It was warm and sweet, with a flavor she could not describe. It was unlike anything she had ever tasted in her 200 years of life. "This is pleasant," she admitted. Tay smiled again. "I am glad you like it." Vela lowered the cup. "But this changes nothing. Your people still violated our space. They still showed disrespect." "You are right," Tay agreed. "And I want to address that. But first, may I tell you something about humans?" Vela considered this for a moment. Then she nodded. Tay set down his cup and spoke carefully, choosing his words with care. "Humans are a young species," he said. "We have only been traveling among the stars for a few hundred years. Compared to the Arathi, we are like children." Vela made a sound of agreement. "This is true. But even though we are young," Tay continued, "we have learned some things. We have learned that fighting is easy. Anger is easy. It is the first response, the fastest response. But it is not always the best response." Vela's eyes narrowed. "You think anger is wrong?" "No," Tay said. "Anger is natural. It tells us when something is important. When you shouted at me, it told me that your people's territory is important to you, that you feel your honor has been threatened. That is valuable information." He paused. "But what we do with our anger matters. We can use it to destroy, or we can use it to understand." Vela was silent. She stared at Tay as if seeing him for the first time. "On my world," Tay said quietly, "there is an old saying. A gentle answer turns away wrath. It means that sometimes the best way to respond to anger is not with more anger, but with kindness." "Why?" Vela asked. "Why would you choose kindness when strength is available?" Tay thought about this question carefully. It was perhaps the most important question Vela could have asked. "Because kindness builds," he said finally. "Anger destroys. If I had shouted back at you, what would have happened? We would have argued. Perhaps we would have fought. Perhaps your people and my people would be at war right now." He gestured around the room. "But instead, We are drinking tea. We are talking. We are trying to understand each other. Isn't this better? Vela looked down at the cup in her hands. The tea was still warm. The steam still rose gently toward the ceiling. She did not have an answer. For the first time in her life, she did not know what to say. Her guards watched in amazement. They had seen Ambassador Vela face armies without flinching. They had seen her argue with the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They had never seen her look uncertain. "Sit with me," Tay said gently. "Please, let me explain what happened with our ships. Let me show you that there was no disrespect intended. And then, if you are still angry, you can decide what to do." Vela stood motionless for a long moment. The silence stretched out between them. Then, slowly, she pulled out a chair and sat down at the table. Dohan let out a breath he had been holding. Yuna's shoulders relaxed slightly. Tay sat down across from Vela. He refilled her tea and poured more for himself. "Thank you," he said simply. Vela shook her head slowly. "Do not thank me yet, human. I have not forgiven anything. I have not forgiven anything. I have only agreed to listen." "That is enough," Tay said. "That is all I ask." And so, in a chamber where war had seemed certain just minutes before, two very different people began to talk. The space station floated silently in the darkness between stars. It was called Haven, and it was the only place in the galaxy where different species could meet and talk in peace. For 300 years, Haven had been neutral ground. No weapons were allowed. No fighting was permitted. It was a place for words, not war. Tay stood near the large window, looking out at the endless black sky. He was a young man from Earth, only 32 years old. He had dark hair that fell slightly over his forehead and calm brown eyes that seemed to hold a quiet strength. He wore the simple gray uniform of a human diplomat, with a small Earth symbol on his chest. This was his first major assignment. The leaders back on Earth had chosen him because of his patience and his ability to stay calm in difficult situations. They said he had a gift for understanding others, even when they were angry or afraid. Today, he would need that gift more than ever. The Arathi Empire had sent their ambassador to discuss a border dispute. The Arathi were a powerful species. They controlled over 200 star systems, and their military was one of the strongest in the known galaxy. They were tall beings, covered in beautiful violet scales that shimmered like jewels under the station's lights. Their eyes were large and golden, and they had sharp features that made them look both elegant and dangerous. For the past several months, human ships had been traveling through a region of space that the Arathi claimed as their own. It was not intentional. Human navigation systems had made errors, and some ships had crossed into Arathi territory by accident. But the Arathi did not believe in accidents. They believed in intentions. And they believed humans were testing their strength. Tay had been sent to explain the situation and to apologize for any misunderstanding. He had studied the Arathi culture for weeks before coming here. He knew they valued strength and directness. They did not like weakness, and they did not understand hesitation. In their society, when someone made a mistake, they either fought to defend their honor, or they submitted completely. Humans did neither of these things. And that confused the Arathi greatly. The door to the meeting chamber opened with a soft sound. Tay turned to see the Arathi delegation entering. There were 5 of them, all wearing dark armor that covered their bodies like a second skin. Their scales caught the light and sparkled with shades of purple and blue. At the front of the group walked Ambassador Vela. She was tall, even for an Arathi. Her scales were a deep violet, almost black in some places, and her golden eyes burned with an intensity that made others look away. She moved with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. Her voice, when she spoke, was sharp and commanding. Tay had read about her in the briefing documents. Vela was not just a diplomat. She was a warrior who had fought in 17 battles and won them all. She had been chosen for this mission because the Arathi believed the situation might require force. They wanted someone who could speak with words but also fight with blades. Behind Tay stood his small team. There was Yuna, a young woman with short black hair who served as his translator, even though the universal translator devices made her job mostly unnecessary. There was also Don, an older man with gray at his temples who had served as a diplomat for over 20 years. He was there to advise Tay if things became complicated. The two groups faced each other across the long table in the center of the room. The table was made of a dark wood from a planet that no longer existed. It was a reminder that civilizations could end, and that peace was precious. Vela did not sit down. She stood at her end of the table, her golden eyes fixed on Tay with an expression that was both curious and hostile. "You are the one they sent," she said. Her voice echoed in the chamber. "A child. They sent a child to answer for their crimes." Tay did not react to the insult. He simply nodded. "I am Tay, Ambassador. I am honored to meet you." Vela's eyes narrowed. She had expected him to become angry or defensive. His calmness irritated her. "Honor," she repeated, as if the word tasted bad in her mouth. "Your people speak of honor, but you violate our space. You send ships into our territory. You ignore our warnings. Is this your human honor?" Tay remained still. "The ships that entered your space did so by mistake, Ambassador. Our navigation systems had errors. We have already corrected them. I am here to apologize for any concern this may have caused." The word apologize seemed to strike Vela like a physical blow. Her scales bristled, rising slightly along her neck and shoulders. In Arathi culture, an apology was a sign of submission. It meant admitting complete defeat. It meant placing yourself beneath the other person. "You apologize," Vela said slowly. "So you admit that humans are weak, that you cannot defend your actions." "I admit that we made a mistake," Tay said gently, "and I believe it is right to acknowledge when we are wrong." Vela took a step forward. Her guards tensed, their hands moving toward the ceremonial blades at their sides. "Mistakes are made by the foolish," Vela said, her voice rising. "The strong do not make mistakes. The strong take what they want and defend what is theirs. Your people wandered into our territory, and now you come here with soft words and lowered eyes. This is not diplomacy. This is cowardice." Tay could feel the tension in the room growing. Behind him, Doan shifted nervously. Yuna's face had gone pale. They had both seen negotiations fail before, and they knew what could happen if the Arathi became too angry. But Tay did not feel fear. He felt something else, something that was hard to explain. He looked at Vela and saw not a monster, but a person. A person who had been raised in a culture where showing any weakness could mean death. A person who had fought her whole life to prove her strength. She was not truly angry at humans, Tay realized. She was confused by them. And confusion, in her world, felt like danger. "Ambassador Vela," Tay said softly, "I understand that my words may seem strange to you. In your culture, admitting a mistake is a sign of weakness. But in my culture, it is a sign of strength. It takes courage to say we were wrong. It takes strength to choose peace when war would be easier." Vela's eyes widened. For a moment, she seemed almost speechless. Then her face twisted with rage. "You dare," she hissed. "You dare to speak to me of strength? You, who have never faced death. You, who have never held a blade. Your words are poison, human. They twist and turn like snakes." She slammed her hand down on the table. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. "I did not come here to listen to lies," Vela shouted. I came here to demand justice. Your ships violated our space. Your people showed disrespect to the Arathi Empire. And now you stand there with your calm face and your soft voice, trying to make me believe that weakness is strength. She pointed at Tay, her finger trembling with anger. This is your last chance, human. Admit that your people are inferior. Admit that you are beneath us. Or face the consequences. The room was silent. Everyone waited to see what Tay would do. The days that followed the first meeting were unlike anything anyone had expected. Vela did not leave Haven Station immediately, as everyone had assumed she would. Instead, she requested to stay longer. She wanted to learn more about humans. Tay was surprised but pleased. He arranged for Vela to meet other humans on the station. She talked with scientists and engineers. She shared meals with workers and traders. She watched human children playing in the recreation areas, laughing and running without fear. Each conversation seemed to change her a little more. One morning, Tay found her standing outside the station's small garden. It was not much, just a room filled with plants from Earth that the human residents had brought with them. There were flowers of many colors and small trees and vegetables growing in neat rows. Vela was looking at a single red rose. This is beautiful, she said when Tay approached. What is it called? It is a rose, Tay said. It is one of our oldest flowers. People have been growing them for thousands of years. Why? Vela asked. Does it provide food? Medicine? Tay smiled. No, we grow it because it is beautiful. That is enough. Vela touched one of the petals gently. Her violet scales seemed almost soft in the garden's warm light. The Arathi do not grow things for beauty, she said. Everything must have a purpose. Everything must serve the Empire. Beauty has a purpose, Tay said. It reminds us why life is worth living. It gives us hope. Vela did not respond. But she stayed in the garden for a long time that day. As the days passed, news of the unusual negotiations spread through Haven Station. Other species watched with curiosity as the fearsome Arathi ambassador walked peacefully beside a young human diplomat. They saw her drink tea. They saw her smile. They saw her, for the first time in anyone's memory, lower her guard. Not everyone was pleased. The Arathi guards who had accompanied Vela grew restless. They did not understand what was happening to their ambassador. One of them, a soldier named Keth, finally spoke his concerns. Ambassador, I am worried, he said one evening. You are spending too much time with these humans. The other species are watching. They will think you have become weak. Vela looked at him. A few days ago, she might have been angry at such words. But now she simply felt tired. Do you think I am weak, Keth? The guard hesitated. No, Ambassador. But others may think so. And what if they do? Vela asked. What if the entire galaxy thinks I have become weak? Will that change what I have learned here? Keth did not have an answer. I have spent my whole life being strong, Vela continued. I have killed enemies. I have won battles. I have made the name Velafian across 100 worlds. But I am not happy, Keth. I have not been happy for a very long time. She looked out the window at the stars. These humans, they are weak by our standards. They cannot fight like us. They cannot survive like us. Yet they are happy. They laugh. They create beautiful things. They love each other without fear. Her voice grew quiet. I want to understand how they do it. I want to know if there is another way to live. Keth was silent for a moment. Then he spoke carefully. My grandmother used to say that the strongest warriors are not those who never lose, but those who can admit when they are wrong. Vela turned to him in surprise. Your grandmother said this? Yes, Ambassador. She was very old and remembered the time before we became warriors. She said. He hesitated. She said the Orathi had lost their souls, that we had become so focused on surviving that we forgot how to live. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was killed in battle when I was young, Kath said, but I have never forgotten her words. Vela placed her hand on his shoulder. Perhaps we should start listening to our grandmothers. The next day, Vela asked Tay an unusual question. When humans disagree with each other, how do you resolve it? Tay thought about the question. It depends on the disagreement. Sometimes we talk and find a compromise. Sometimes we agree to disagree. Sometimes we need help from others to find a solution. But you do not fight? Sometimes we do, Tay admitted. We are not perfect, but we try to find other ways first. Fighting is the last option, not the first. Vela nodded slowly. Among the Arathi, fighting is always the first option. If someone challenges you, you must respond with strength. If you do not, you are considered a coward. That sounds exhausting, Tay said. Vela laughed. It was a real laugh, full and warm. It is. You cannot imagine how exhausting it is. Every day is a battle. Every conversation is a competition. You can never relax. You can never show weakness. That is no way to live, Tay said gently. No, Vela agreed. It is not. That evening, something remarkable happened. Vela asked the station's cultural center if she could see human art. The staff were surprised, but agreed. They took her to a small gallery that displayed paintings and sculptures from Earth. Vela walked through the gallery slowly, stopping at each piece. She looked at paintings of landscapes and portraits. She studied sculptures of people and animals. She did not speak for a long time. Finally, she stopped in front of a painting of a sunset over an ocean. The colors were brilliant, orange and pink and gold, spreading across a blue sky. This is Earth? She asked. Yes, said the curator, a human woman named Jizu, who had silver hair and kind eyes. This is what our sunsets look like. It is beautiful, Vela said. Her voice was strange, almost choked. Jizu looked at her with understanding. Are you all right, Ambassador? Vela did not answer immediately. When she did, her voice was barely a whisper. I have traveled to 1,000 worlds. I have seen wonders that most beings cannot imagine. But I have never stopped to look at a sunset. I have never allowed myself to see beauty. Tears appeared in her golden eyes. The guards who accompanied her shifted uncomfortably. They had never seen their ambassador cry. Why are you crying? Jizu asked gently. Because I am sad, Vela said. And because I am angry. I have wasted so much time. So many years spent fighting and killing and proving my strength. And for what? What has it given me? Jizu moved closer. Without thinking, she reached out and took Vela's hand. The guards tensed. Touching an Arathi ambassador without permission was usually punished by death. But Vela did not pull away. Instead, she squeezed Jizu's hand gently. Thank you, she said. Thank you for showing me this. Would you like to see more? Jizu asked. Yes, Vela said. I would like to see everything. They spent hours in the gallery. Jizu explained each piece, told the stories behind them, described what the artists had been feeling when they created them. Vela listened with an intensity that surprised everyone. Later that night, Vela found Tay in the observation lounge. I have made a decision, she said. Tay looked up at her. What decision? I am going to return to my homeworld, but not to demand war. I am going to tell my people what I have learned here. I am going to tell them about humans and tea and sunsets and art. She sat down beside him. I do not know if they will listen. The Arathi have been warriors for 10,000 years. Change will not be easy. But I have to try. Why? Tay asked. Vela smiled. Because you taught me that kindness is strength. And I think the Arathi need to learn that lesson. I think, I think we have been afraid for too long. We have let fear make us cruel." She looked out at the stars. "I want my people to know peace. I want our children to grow up without fear. I want us to create beautiful things again, like we did long ago." Tay felt his eyes growing wet. "That is a beautiful dream, Ambassador." "Vela," she said. "Please, call me Vela. Vela." Tay smiled. "I hope your dream comes true." Vela turned to look at him. "Will you help me?" "What?" "Come with me. Come to my homeworld. Let my people see a human. Let them learn what I have learned." Tay was stunned. "You want me to go to the Orethi homeworld?" "Yes, I know it is dangerous. I know there are those who will want to kill you. But I think your presence could change everything." Tay thought about this for a long moment. It was a huge risk. The Orethi homeworld was deep in their territory. If things went wrong, there would be no rescue, no escape. But this was why he had become a diplomat. This was his chance to truly change the galaxy. "Yes," he said. "I will come with you." Vela smiled, and in that smile, Tay saw the future. A future where humans and Orethi were not enemies, but friends. A future where kindness had one dot. It was a beautiful dream dot, and tomorrow, they would begin to make it real. The Orethi homeworld was called Virith. It was a massive planet with purple skies and 3 moons that hung like jewels in the darkness. From space, it looked beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Cities spread across its surface like silver webs, and great ships orbited above, ready to defend against any threat. Tay stood at the window of Vela's ship as they approached. His heart was beating fast. Behind him, Yuna and Dawn waited nervously. They had insisted on coming with him, even though they knew the danger. "Are you afraid?" Vela asked, standing beside him. "Yes," Tay admitted. "But I believe in what we are doing." Vela nodded. "That is true courage. Not the absence of fear, but acting despite it." The ship landed in the capital city, a place called Karth. Thousands of Orethi had gathered to watch. They lined the streets, their violet scales shimmering in the light of the 3 moons. Many of them had never seen a human before. They stared at Tay with a mixture of curiosity and hostility. Vela walked ahead, her armor gleaming. Behind her came Tay and his small team. Behind them came Keth and the other guards. The crowd whispered. Some of them called out insults. Others threw small objects that clattered harmlessly on the ground. "Do not react," Vela said quietly. "Let them see that you are not afraid." Tay kept his head high and walked steadily. His heart was pounding, but he kept his face calm. This was the most important moment of his life. They walked through the city to the Great Hall, where the Orethi Council waited. The council was made up of the 12 most powerful leaders in the Empire. They decided all matters of war and peace. They had the power to destroy humanity or to save it. The Great Hall was enormous. Its walls were covered with carvings that told the history of the Orethi people. The ceiling was so high that it disappeared in the shadows. And at the far end, on 12 thrones made of dark stone, sat the council. Vela bowed before them. "Honored leaders, I have returned from Haven Station with important news." The head of the council, an ancient Orethi named Vorik, looked down at her with cold eyes. His scales were gray with age, and his voice was like grinding stone. "We know what you bring, Vela. We have heard the reports. You bring a human into our sacred hall. You bring our enemy into our home." "He is not our enemy," Vela said firmly. "He is my friend." The word caused a ripple of shock through the hall. Friend was not a word the Orethi used often. It implied weakness. It implied dependence on others. "You have been corrupted," Vorik said. "The humans have poisoned your mind with their soft words and gentle ways." "No," Vela said. "They have opened my eyes. For too long, We have lived in fear. We have made ourselves strong because we were afraid to be weak. But strength without wisdom is just violence. Power without compassion is just cruelty. She stepped forward. I have seen another way. The humans showed me that kindness can be strength. That peace can be victory. That we do not have to destroy everything we touch. Vorek's eyes narrowed. Pretty words. But words do not win wars. Perhaps we do not need to win wars, Vela said. Perhaps we need to stop having them. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. This was not the Vela they knew. The warrior who had never shown mercy. The ambassador who had made entire species tremble with fear. Let the humans speak, said one of the council members, a female named Sarah, who had watched the exchange with thoughtful eyes. I want to hear what he has to say. Vorek looked displeased, but he nodded. Very well. Speak, human. But choose your words carefully. Tay stepped forward. His legs were shaking, but his voice was steady. Honored leaders, I am Tay. I am a diplomat from Earth. I have come here not as your enemy, but as someone who hopes to become your friend. He paused. I know that sounds strange to you. I know that the Orathi have suffered greatly. I know that other species have attacked you, betrayed you, tried to destroy you. You have learned to trust no one. You have learned that the only way to survive is to be stronger than everyone else. He looked at each of the council members in turn. But humans believe in another way. We believe that true strength comes from connection, not isolation. We believe that the best victories are the ones where no one has to lose. Vorek made a dismissive sound. Foolishness. The universe is competition. The strong survive. The weak die. This is the natural order. Is it? Tay asked. Or is it just the order we have created? The order we have chosen? He took a deep breath. Long ago on Earth, we nearly destroyed ourselves. We had wars that killed millions of people. We built weapons that could end all life on our planet. We came very close to making ourselves extinct. The council was listening now. Even Vorek seemed interested despite himself. But we survived, Tay continued. We survived because we learned to change. We learned that cooperation is stronger than competition. We learned that understanding is more powerful than fear. He gestured toward Vela. Ambassador Vela came to Haven Station ready for war. She was angry and suspicious and ready to fight. But instead of fighting her, I offered her tea. I listened to her. I tried to understand her. Vela stepped forward to stand beside him. And I listened to him. I learned about his people. I saw their art and their kindness and their hope. And I realized that there is another way to live. A better way. Sierra leaned forward. And what exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? Vela took a deep breath. I am proposing an alliance between the Arathi Empire and humanity. An alliance based not on fear or military strength, but on mutual respect and cooperation. The council erupted in arguments. Some members shouted in anger. Others looked thoughtful. Vorek sat silently, his ancient eyes watching everything. Finally, he raised his hand. The hall fell silent. An alliance, he said slowly, with humans, the weakest species in the galaxy. They are not weak, Vela said firmly. They are different. And their differences could make us stronger. Vorek studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to Tay. Human, if we agree to this alliance, what do you offer us? Tay had prepared for this question. We offer you our technology, our science, our art and music and literature. We offer you trade and cultural exchange. And most importantly, we offer you friendship. True friendship, with no hidden motives. And what do you want in return? Peace, Tay said simply. We want peace between our peoples. We want our ships to travel safely through your space. We want to learn from you, just as you can learn from us. Vorik turned to the other council members. What say you? Sira spoke first. I am curious about these humans. I would like to see if their way truly works. Another member, a scarred warrior named Krath, shook his head. This is madness. We cannot trust them. We can try, said another. What do we have to lose? The debate went on for hours. Tay stood patiently, watching and listening. Beside him, Vela waited with quiet confidence. Finally, as the three moons reached their highest point in the purple sky, Vorik made his decision. We will agree to a trial period, he announced. 1 year. During this year, humans may travel freely in our space. We will exchange ambassadors and begin cultural programs. And at the end of the year, we will decide whether to continue. Tay felt tears forming in his eyes. Thank you, honored leader. You will not regret this decision. Vorik's expression did not change. We shall see, human. We shall see. But Sira was smiling. And when Tay looked around the hall, he saw that many of the Orethi in the crowd were smiling too. That night, there was a celebration unlike anything Veraith had seen in centuries. Humans and Orethi ate together, drank together, talked together. Tay taught them about tea, and they taught him about their ancient songs. Vela found him standing on a balcony, looking up at the three moons. You did it, she said. You changed everything. We did it, Tay corrected. Together. Vela smiled. Together. I like that word. She stood beside him, and together they watched the moons rise over a world that was finally ready to change Dot in the years that followed. The alliance grew stronger. Orethi visited Earth and were amazed by its blue oceans and green forests. Humans visited Verath and learned to appreciate its strange beauty. Artists from both worlds created together. Scientists worked side by side. Children grew up knowing that different did not mean dangerous. And whenever people asked how it all began, they told the story of a young human diplomat who offered tea to an angry alien. A simple act of kindness that changed the galaxy forever. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is be gentle. Sometimes. The bravest thing you can do is forgive. And sometimes, all it takes to change everything is one person who refuses to fight back. Humanity had many gifts to offer the galaxy. But perhaps their greatest gift was this: the belief that anyone, even an enemy, could become a friend. All you had to do was offer them a cup of tea,